Joining me here back on the Rich Eisen Show is part of the NFL Media Group's draft analysis team. Good to see you, Bucky Brooks.
I'm good, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. Congrats on your Tar Heels.
I know. Last time I was here after a championship game, I got the crying Jordan face.
Yes.
I'm hoping. I can get something.
Right. Well, you know when you come here, Bucky,
Ceiling,
the roof is the ceiling. Yeah, the ceiling's the roof. You know that. Exactly. Good to see you. Good to see you. So I'm looking at your mock draft. And I see in your mock draft, you have Mitchell Trubisky going 17th overall to the Washington Redskins. What? Just what? What? Really?
Okay, so we got Kirk Cousins playing on the second year of a franchise tag. It goes up tremendously the next year. Mm-hmm. If the Washington Redskins have serious concerns about being able to retain Kirk Cousins, why not draft the insurance policy this year? Cousins is there. Cousins can start this year. Mitchell Trubisky can learn the system and be ready to take over in 2018 where Cousins departs and maybe ends up in San Francisco. To me, when you look at it, it is the best transition plan that they could put in place. When you look at how Jay Gruden has worked with young quarterbacks, what he did with Andy Dalton, what he did with even Colt McCoy doing his little stint with the Redskins, he has been a solid developer of quarterbacks. Trubisky certainly could play in that system.
But wouldn't that be just admitting that we're done with Kirk Cousins here, and we've now given him $44 million over 2 years? For what? I mean, wouldn't that just be...
They've kind of already admitted that he's not their guy, because if they thought that he was really their guy, they would have signed the deal and kind of made him the franchise quarterback, paid him whatever they had to pay him to make sure that he was entrenched there. The fact that they've had concerns and questions and haven't been able to do a deal to this point leads me to believe that somewhere in their front office, they don't necessarily believe that he is all things that some of us think he can be. So because of that, you have to ensure that the franchise has a quarterback going forward. You can take a chance in this draft and make sure that you find that guy.
Well, I mean, if that happens on 2 weeks from...
Bananas is draft night. It should be bananas.
It is going to be. Well, I mean, nothing's more bananas than, a Bong gas mask being popped on social media.
That was bananas.
Let's put it this way. That was the roof and the ceiling.
That was insane.
Okay, in terms of the draft, right there. You've got the Jets going Deshaun Watson. You think that they are going to go quarterback in that regard?
I mean, like, we don't know what the Jets are thinking, but here's what I'm thinking. Like, if Christian Hackenberg was going to be the franchise quarterback, one, they probably would have put him on the field last year at some point, because most time when we see the succession plan for a young quarterback, about midway through that first year, they get on the field to kind of work through some of those rookie mistakes. They didn't put him on the field at all, which to me is kind of surprising.
Well, what? Surprising or indicative of something else, Bucky?
I mean, I won't say it's indicative of something, but you could kind of connect the dots and say maybe he hadn't performed well enough on the practice field or during preseason to earn the right to go on the field. However, you took him in the second round, and we were thinking that you were taking him because he could be the next apparent one. He's the heir apparent to Fitzpatrick. You didn't do that. So now at 6, you're looking for a quarterback. Broadway, the bright lights, the big stage, the best big game quarterback in this draft has been Deshaun Watson.
There's no question about it.
He's proven it. He has the extensive track record, 32-3, national titles. We've seen how he's performed in all of those playoff games. So if I'm the Jets and I'm going to take a guy that can handle all of the stuff that goes along with being the quarterback of the Jets, I think he's the best prepared to do it.
I agree with you. I hope they do that. They have to do that.
I mean, I would like to see him do it. I don't know if they will pull the trigger on it, though.
Well, who would they pull the trigger on? I mean,
I don't know.
If he's sitting there and they go ahead and take another safety, and when I say another safety, I mean the hitman Calvin Pryor was supposed to be that guy from Louisville a couple of years ago, but I guess you can't keep drafting based on what a previous regime.
No, you can't. You still got to just try and take the best players. This is a team without a quarterback. We can say that quarterback is the most important position on the field, and you have to keep taking swings. You have to keep stepping to the plate and swinging until you can find that guy. They need to find a long-term answer at the position. We know that it's not Josh McCown. We're probably thinking that it's not Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg. So in the draft, that's the only way you can go get it. You have to find one.
And interestingly enough, Trubisky is not the second quarterback off the board, with Watson being the first. You think that the Cardinals will go ahead and draft Patrick Mahomes?
You know, part of the fun in playing mock drafts is sometimes you go through scenarios in your head. And so we've heard so much buzz and conversation about Patrick Mahomes. When I talk to people in the league about him, they rave about the talent. They say this talent is something that we haven't necessarily seen from an arm talent perspective. They put it in the category of Matthew Stafford, Jay Cutler, in terms of the way that he can throw the ball all over the yard. And in fact, those two guys are kind of what I see when I watch him play on tape. In fact, he really closely resembles Jay Cutler in terms of what Jay Cutler had to do at Vanderbilt, Pat Mahomes had to do at Texas Tech, meaning he was a one-man show. He had to do everything. He had to play a high-risk, high-reward style of play that's not necessarily conducive to winning. When you take him in the National Football League, you're hoping that you can coach some of that out of him. He can become a better manager at the position and still retain those elite qualities that he's shown as a gunslinger. We will see if it can be done. The track record it's really not a big track record of guys going from that system and playing that style to being successful in the league, but you're banking that the talent exceeds everything
Didn't the
else.
Cardinals draft Logan Thomas, though, as that, like a gunslinger, big arm?
They drafted
People thought
him
he
in the
could be
fourth round.
it.
They've proven, they've shown, Bruce Arians has shown that he'll take chances on guys who have tremendous talent, who are courageous enough to stand in the pocket when they release 5 out and have people coming down to hit him in the chops and make throws. So because of that, I believe there are 2 guys that they consider. Pat Mahomes is one. I think Deshaun Kaiser could be the other, because those are the 2 guys, to me, that fit the style of play that he wants to play.
See, sometimes when you draft the heir apparent, it doesn't work out. Just wondering, and some teams can rebound from that because they have the proper team around the misfire at the drafted quarterback position. Some teams can handle that. Other teams can't.
When he takes you guys to the promised land.
And who is that?
I want a one-page written apology letter.
Who is he? Who's the he?
Hackenberg.
Okay. Wow. Bucky Brooks here in the Rich Eisen Show. Joe Mixon you have to the Packers, 29th overall.
Oh, yeah.
Mixon is going to be a first-round pick, you think?
I think Mixon has a chance to be a first-round pick, because here's the thing when it comes to Joe Mixon. If Joe Mixon is on your board, you can catch the same heat whether you take him in the first round, the 4th round, or the 7th round. If he is on your team, you're going to have to deal with all the stuff that comes along with it from a negative PR standpoint. So if you're saying that this guy is going to be a feature back for your team, you need to be in a position where you can take him. Teams that are thinking, oh, we'll just wait to the bottom of the 2nd round to get him, he's not going to be there. So you're going to have to make the conversation that if he is someone that you're earmarking to be a player on your team, to make the kind of plays that he should be able to make as a David Johnson-like playmaker, you're going to have to try and figure out, where do I take him? The bottom of the 1st round might be the sweet spot, but I don't believe he gets past 40 on draft night. And the thing that affects general managers, because remember, everybody's affected by what happens the previous season. After people ignored Tyreek Hill because of his egregious situation, his errors, and all the heinous stuff that he participated in, but then they watched him week after week put the ball in the paint and make explosive plays and help Kansas City become the division champ. There are more teams going to be like, look, he was a model citizen. Maybe Joe Mixon can engineer a similar turnaround with the right support system. And so the teams that are tagged with Joe Mixon all have a common denominator. Small market team, strong personalities in the front office and on the coaching staff, and they're willing to take a chance on a 20-year-old running back who has extraordinary talent. If he wasn't talented, he wouldn't be on anybody's board.
Of course. Well, that makes sense.
But that's what it is, and that's the risk-reward deal that everyone is dealing with.
Well, what are you hearing in the scouting community about Mixon's personality now that he is a 20-year-old? He'll be 21 by the time that he hits an NFL gridiron this fall. We had him on the show yesterday, Bucky, and he did say over and over again that he made a mistake. But I did ask him just point blank, because I don't know him. It's the first time I've ever spoken to him. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? Where you haul off and hit a woman, where does that come from? And his answer showed no introspection on that topic. I would think that somebody, and again, this may sound critical or whatever, I don't know him, but it sounds like if this had happened to me, I would spend at least 2 to 3 years in the interim, also knowing that I'm in the middle of this PR firestorm, thinking about that where does that come from? He didn't have he didn't have an answer on it. He kind of punted on the answer, to be honest with you. But he's also 20.
He's also 20, and I think what we have to also realize, like, players come from all different types of life, and without being privy to his background and where he grew up and what he was around and what he's seen and those who counseled him growing up and how they taught him how to act like a man growing up and those things, I can't speak on that. I can speak on my interactions when he was in high school and he came to the opening regional camps up at Beaverton, and we had an opportunity to watch him and do those things. He was a model citizen up there. Yes, he has been involved in some things that you worry about, and you worry about him and her, both people that were involved in the incident and how they'll recover. I think the big thing that you have to do if you're a team is you really have to investigate not only him, but those who are around him, who are going to be the centers of influence. Do you have an infrastructure in place that will allow him to continue to grow up as a young man? We talk about 20 years old, and I understand at a time sometimes with athletes, we're unforgiving when they make transgressions. And I absolutely understand why you wouldn't want to give him a second chance. However, if we're looking at him and saying, look, the rest of your life isn't over at 20, we're going to give you an opportunity to have another chance to do something that you love, but you have to show that you can be a model citizen, then we're going to surround you with everything that we can to allow you to grow. And if you can't do it, then you let him go. You dismiss him, and he probably won't get another opportunity. So I think you have to make the decision based on his track record, what he's shown from his time at Oklahoma to the time he's out, to see if you can trust him. And every team would not be willing to take a chance. But I'm telling you, there are more than a handful of teams that are willing to investigate the possibility of putting him on the roster. And so he's going to be picked. He's probably going to be picked higher than anyone imagined because the talent is what I talked about before. It's intoxicating.
Well, if your level of measurement is handfuls, he told us 3 actual handfuls. He said 15 teams have brought him in.
I mean, 15 visits, and some of the teams are led by some people that you're like, really? They brought you in? We wouldn't think that. But
who's that?
I think some of the teams that you talked about, you hear Kansas City, you talk about Denver, you hear Jacksonville being interested, Tampa Bay. Some of the other teams, Minnesota could be intriguing, Green Bay. There are a lot of teams that people are going to open up and be like, wow, why would they even consider him based on either his history or their own history? But because they believe they have a culture in place, they have a locker room in place that will allow him to grow and thrive, that's why they're kicking the tires on Joe Mixon.
Bucky Brooks is here in the Honda Insider Report, sponsored by the Honda Dream Garage sales event. Your chance to find deals on the Honda's CR-V, Honda HR-V, available with the Honda sensing a suite of driver assistive technologies, but have to hurry in before it is over. We're going to take a break, come back. I want to talk with you about the Cleveland flow chart and the number of scouts that they have on the staff that we talked about yesterday, and whether there's too many cooks in that kitchen. and the one aspect of your mock draft that I find particularly outrageous, I have an issue with this part of your mock draft, sir.
Ooh.
And I think you might be just go through in your head what it is. I think you'll understand where I'm going. That's next here on The Rich Eisen Show. We spared Bucky, the radio audience, the direct hit on what we were dancing around the edges on, which is Hackenberg. And the wager that we have here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay.
It's a good one.
What happens first? Hackenberg starts a game for any of the 32 teams in the National Football League. Any of them.
Ooh.
Okay. Or put it up on the screen, Evan, that the club level of this stadium gets built. Just up the 405.
Look at the
there's now piles of rocks and dirt. I mean, this is now
cranes on down there.
I mean,
wow.
So what happens first? The club level builds gets built here.
He has to get the start before.
I know he has. What do you mean what do you mean he has to?
I mean, Matt Barkley started. Matt Barkley started a game. Multiple games.
Multiple.
I think Hackenberg gets an opportunity.
Matt Barkley looked good, though.
Matt Barkley was.
He threw up 300-plus yards.
For the Bears this year? He put up some numbers.
Look at the numbers. Pull up the stats.
Stand by.
It's fantasy. It's fantasy football.
Yeah, his first start with the Eagles, like things started well, and then it went downhill.
So you're saying because Matt Barkley's gotten a shot,
Matt Barkley
but
got
as
a
you
chance.
pointed out last year, okay, week 17. It's all over.
I know.
It's all over.
But anything can happen now.
And even we, at that point
I don't
in
think
time,
they move on from if they draft a quarterback. But
Bowles has got 1 year left on his deal, and he's going to throw Hackenberg out there
I mean,
this year.
No choice.
Matt Barkley had 3 300-yard games.
Yeah, but how many touchdowns and interceptions?
If the Jets do not
8 to 14.
8 to 14, right?
I would be. Hold on.
That sounds like my senior year of high school.
I would be genuinely concerned that we're going to lose this bet. We meaning you and I and all of America. Okay.
Because the stadium won't be ready to go into when?
Because Law said he would. Law
2018, 2019.
Law said
2019.
No, I'm not saying the stadium. The club
level. It will be built.
Club level's not.
No, the club level's no.
Right. Loge.
It's tier 2.
It's
tier 2.
I still have to think Hackenberg gets a chance.
But if he's the backup to McCown, I think we lose. But I think if they draft somebody and it's McCown's season and then they bring in the rookie, taxi for him. He's on the taxi again. Oh yeah. Bucky Brooks from the NFL Media Group, kind enough to stick around for a second segment here. I'm looking down on your mock draft 4.0, by the way.
I know why you're upset.
You want to say it?
I know why you're upset.
Why is Jabril Peppers a second-round pick in your mind?
Not included in the first round.
How is Jabril Peppers available on Friday night in your mind?
You know, he's quite a polarizing prospect when you ask around.
What do you mean by polarizing?
Polarizing in terms of you can't get a general consensus on what people expect him to be. When I ask guys about Jabril Peppers playing safety, the responses I got, he's a better running back prospect and safety prospect from multiple guys in the league. They view him as an offensive weapon. Some have questions about his ability to be a deep middle player at safety because he didn't have a ton of interceptions. I see him a little differently. I think he's dynamic. I think he's explosive. I think he kind of gets it. And in the right system, he could be a terrific playmaker.
But not a first-rounder?
It's not a consensus, no.
How about this, Bucky? You described for me a football player.
He's a very
And the reason why he had
player.
one interception from the safety position is he played linebacker most of the year last year, to the point where the scouts, for whatever reason, put an LB jersey on him in Indianapolis.
Now, that I don't understand. Maybe you can take it up with the defensive coordinator who put him at linebacker. But
well, they needed him there. They needed him
safety.
there.
He's a safety.
He's a team player. There may be an eye on Jabril, but he went where he needed to go.
He did. He kind of reminds me of Eric Weddle. When I watched Eric Weddle coming out of Utah, Eric Weddle was a 2-time Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, kind of moved all around, was a bit of a ball magnet, made more plays on the ball than Peppers. But Peppers is explosive. He's versatile. He's dynamic, especially in the return game and on offense. I believe there's a way to capitalize on his instincts, his awareness, and his see ball, get ball mentality.
Yeah.
I just think it takes the right defensive coordinator to have a plan for him.
You think Jerry Jones passes up on Jabril Peppers? He could put the star on the side of that kid's helmet.
I think he's a good player. They definitely have a need. He could play there. It would be nice to have a yin and a yang with Byron Jones at free safety, Jabril Peppers being able to come down and play strong safety.
And then he puts him back there to return punts.
I mean, he's a star. I mean, he has star quality to his game. I like the kid.
I feel like I'm pulling teeth with you.
Nah, where he came out at. It's a mock draft, Rich. It's a mock draft. It's a mock draft.
So it's not real?
It's a make-believe thing.
Now, Law mentioned yesterday, he went to the Browns website.
Yes.
And mentioned that everybody part of the Browns scouting staff and also their player personnel department, et cetera, not Sashi Brown, not Hugh Jackson, and not Paul DePodesta.
Not DePodesta.
Removing them, the number of cooks in the kitchen are 32.
They have 32 scouts on
32 scouts and also members of the player personnel
they have
department.
21 scouts and scouting assistants, and then there's 11 additional VP player personnel, director of research strategy, director of player personnel, director of college scouting.
How does that work?
So 32 total.
Man, that's heavy.
Is that why we're hearing it could be Fournette? We're hearing it could be Garrett. We're hearing it could be Trubisky.
I mean, there are a lot of people weighing in. When I talk to people internally, you only have a handful of people that are in the room, the decision makers. Okay. Everyone else is kind of
in the room where it happens, to use the Hamilton phrase?
Where they have the serious conversations on who are the guys that we're truly considering at the top of the board.
Okay.
But to have that many staffs is obviously a luxury and a resource. Sometimes when you have that many people, too many opinions can kind of muddy up the water when it comes to making a consensus. But as they're trying to do it a different way, as you blend in the analytics and the other approaches that they're trying to incorporate with the old school football knowledge, maybe you need multiple voices in there to give you multiple perspectives, and the people at the top are able to sift through that and to come to a good opinion, make good decisions.
Do you think 2 weeks from today in Philadelphia, there's going to be a hot Garoppolo rumor that the Browns will make one last run, one last offer they can't refuse?
You know, like the whole thing with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I get it. He's kind of like the sexy name because he came in for the Patriots, played in a game and a half, and showed talent. But I just would be leery on the guy that's played a game and a half in that system. They do such a great job, and I think everyone always acknowledges that the New England Patriots are the superior coaching staff and schemers and tacticians of the National Football League. Mm-hmm. I would just be careful about putting a lot on Jimmy Garoppolo when we also saw Jacoby Brissett have success. We saw Matt Castle. We've seen everyone who has played quarterback.
Tom
Brady, system quarterback.
And, no. I'm not saying that. I won't take anything away from Tom Brady, but I would say systematically, they've had success with every quarterback that has come through there and played.
So instead of taking the guy who played a game and a half, they'll just draft the kid with 13 starts.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if there's a trade.
Thanks for coming on, Bucky.
If there's a trade, I would think A.J. McCarron would be a more
interesting,
logical solution.
Stay in state.
No.
Thanks for coming on.
Jackson.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Bucky Brooks.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.